I didn't want to like this ESP M2 from the USA shop, but then I plugged it in. But more on that later. In today's episode, we're checking out a $6,000 ESP M2 from the USA custom shop. It's got a killer quilt finish, Seymour Duncan pickups, and it's a hardtail. And in today's episode, we have a special guest for an amplifier. So without further ado, let's get straight into this shreddy Squealing Pig Guitars episode. Hello guitarists, welcome back to Squealing Pig Guitars, the home of luxury drum machines here in Nottingham, England. My name is Keightley and today we have a special ESP USA custom shop guitar. This was built in 2023, it's an M2 and it has the beautiful blue rose finish. Usually on the channel we only get ESP Japan guitars, so it'll be interesting to see how much better or how much worse this guitar is. Of course, here at Squealing Pig Guitars, our main mission is to find the best guitars in the world. So we'll be rating this ESP USA edition on 3 aspects. Number 1, aesthetics. Number 2, playability and tone. And number 3, value and overall resale value. So let's not dawdle any further and get straight into this ESP USA review.
Oh yeah.
So let's open it up. Oh wow, look at that guitar. So inside here we have a very exclusive USA ESP M2 in the blue rose finish. Let's see what we get in the case. We get a super cool ESP strap, we get a few stickers, we get a certificate of authenticity, and finally a few tools and a little cleaning cloth. The case is very high end. I love how they've stitched the ESP logo into here with the blue kind of interior, very similar to something that you get from Sir or Fender. So now let's do the daylight test to see what this blue rose finish looks like under normal lighting. So I'm outside the studio now, let's do the daylight test. I have to say it looks really good in daylight. Let's head back into the studio and talk about the specs. So guitarists, now it's time to go over the specs of this ESP USA Custom Shop M2. From first inspections, obviously we talked about the aesthetic of this guitar. The quilt is beautiful, but I'm not a big fan of the finish, just generally speaking. But it's an awesome guitar. It's been built to absolute perfection. This guitar has a very high-end building method called neck through. I'm sure lots of you have heard that. But sometimes ESP just refer to neck throughs as like a set neck, but this is genuinely a full neck through, as you can see by the seam lines. Hopefully you see that in the B camera. So the neck goes all the way through the body, as the name suggests, and then we have mahogany wings on this guitar. Flipping it over, we have a very high-grade quilt maple top. This one looks absolutely sublime. The finish is really cool, but I prefer it to be either all blue and black or pink, one or the other. I'm not a big fan of the two together, but we've got a really nice kind of high-grade quilt maple on that, as you'd expect from a custom shop guitar. We have an ebony fingerboard with the very high-end inlays. I love this inlay design. They have these on the Japanese ones as well. Very nice. And we have a matching headstock cap. We then have a 3-piece maple neck, again that goes all the way through the body, and we have a volute on this one. This one has the extra thin U profile. Even though it's extra thin, it still has a decent amount of girth to it. I found it very comfortable to play, a lot more comfortable than Ibanez, and it's got quite a nice wideness to it. Got lovely domed frets, very similar to the Japanese shop. We have a 25.5-inch scale length on this one and 24 stainless steel fret. For controls, we have a 3-way switch, which feels really reassured. 1 volume, 1 tone with some coil splitting abilities. The pickups are Seymour Duncan's Saturday Night Specials. They have these kind of satin covers, very nice set of pickups. We then have a Tune-o-matic bridge, very similar to what Gibson used, and then we have a string-through body. Of course, these pickups are passive, they're not active, so there's no 9-volt battery. I'm so glad they're not active. And then finally, we have dispersal trim lock locking tuners. These actually cut the string in the hole, which is really cool. So that's everything you need to know about this ESP guitar, so let's go to the tone demonstration. So guitarists, now it's time for the tone demonstration of this USA ESP. For today's episode, we have a guest amplifier on the channel. We've got an incredible Mesa Boogie Mark V amplifier, and I have to say it absolutely screams. A lot of you guys in the comment section below have said that we haven't been representing the ESPs and the SIRs very fairly because we don't have a really good metal amplifier. So we've got this one on the channel today. Let me know what you think of the tones down below. We're gonna start with basic edge of breakup tones, just showing you the neck, the middle, and the bridge position. Middle position. Finally, bridge pickup. So the middle position has a really nice kind of twangy tone. I know this guitar isn't designed for Stevie Ray Vaughan, but you could get that. So there's all the pickup positions that you can get on like an edge of breakup tone. Of course, this guitar isn't really designed to do that. It's designed to be a metal machine. So let's switch this Mark V onto the extreme channel and do some heavy drop D riffing. So just a little warning, I think this might be the best metal tone I've ever got on this channel. Let's hear it. Wow, what a tone. Gotta say, that's one of the best metal tones I've got in the studio by far. The ESP stays in tune so well, it's so easy to play. So let's hear a few more riffs. have to say this is one of the better playing ESPs I've played. Obviously, all the ESPs I have played are made in Japan or the lower end versions. This guitar sounds and plays amazing. To my feel, the fret job is just as good as the made in Japan ones. I know these are more expensive. It doesn't feel worlds apart from a Japanese made one. Okay, so now let's hear the neck pickup of this guitar. Wow, what a tight sound that neck pickup has. Great for sweeping. Wow, what a tight guitar. I've not played some sweep picking and shred like that for a while, but when I was a teenager I used to love Paul Gilbert, Jason Becker, all that type of stuff, and this guitar has really taken me back to that place. Also, I've just got to mention the sculpted heel is absolutely sublime. Very easy to get to them top. Name me another guitar you can get that high up on and it still stays in tune. That's very impressive. Now let's roll off that tone control. Let's do the same for the bridge round. Wow. Right, we're going to end the tone demonstration on that before going to the gig test, but I've got to say this is one of the better ESPs I've played. I've really enjoyed the combination with the Mesa Boogie amplifier today. One of the best metal tones I've ever got in my life, and I don't play metal all the time, so I hope I did the guitar justice, but it's always fun doing some heavy riffs and some over-the-top shredding. But now let's go to the gig test. So this might just be the loudest gig test we've ever done. I've got a beautiful Mesa Boogie Mark V here, and we've got it on half volume, so it's so loud in the room. Let's hear the feedback. So some lovely feedback coming from the ESP. I would call it musical feedback, very harmonic. However, I was surprised at the lack of feedback. I thought it'd be all over the place because this amplifier has got so much gain in it. I think because of the way that the cabinet is positioned and where I'm sat, and like obviously we do have like soundproofing in this room, I think it was just kind of capturing that a little bit. Even when I went right down to the cab, it wasn't uncontrollable. So it just goes to show these Seymour Duncan pickups are doing their job. It sounds incredible. Obviously, as a metal guitar, you want it to be tight. You don't want it to necessarily always be feeding back. Obviously, in the right moments, that can be great, but you want it to be tight and have that nice low end. So let's do the riff. Okay, guitarists, now let's hear this ESP in the mix. Wow, it's so good to play metal again. This Mesa Boogie and this ESP sound incredible. What a guitar. But that is the end of the playability, tone, and gig test. So let's go to the value test. So guitarists, now it's time to talk about the value of this guitar. So we're selling this for 4,099 Great British pounds, but the USA custom shop ones are seen as kind of the highest end guitar that you can get from ESP. It's obviously made in California. They tend to be all custom shop guitars, and they can reach up to, you know, 6, 7, 8,000 pounds depending how you spec them. Obviously on the second-hand market though, they don't have as much of a resale value. This one's obviously come down by about £1,500, which is quite considerable. So that being said, the resale value isn't amazing on these USAs, but in terms of the second-hand price, I actually think it's a very modest price. This guitar is set up amazing, and if you're into ESPs and you're a metal guitar player, then this is one of the highest end guitars that you can buy. Feeling very similar to the Japanese product, the frets feel basically identical. It's just the finish that feels a little bit more high end to my feel. Feels a bit more like a Gibson finish, and you can tell there's been a lot of time taken on this guitar. You know, very premium features such as the neck through construction, the custom pickups, the custom finish as well. If I had to compare the two, I do think they're extremely similar. I don't think that the American has many bonuses on the Japanese. I actually prefer the look of most of the Japanese ones. They're definitely more experimental with their finishes, using like lava and drip finishes, so I do prefer that. However, this feels a little bit more traditional ESP. It feels a little bit more like what they were doing in the early days, whereas the Japanese are really taking them into the future. So that being said, I think it's decent value for this guitar. Not necessarily in the resale value, but in terms of the value that you're going to pay for this second-hand one, I actually think it's quite a good deal. So for that reason, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 for value. So that is the end of all the tests. So let's go to the outro of this video and total them all up. So guitarists, it's the end of this Squealing Pig Guitars episode. It's been a shreddy and a loud one today, but I hope you've enjoyed. Before I get into the final results of today's episode, make sure to leave a like on this video and hit the hype points button. Also, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of this ESP guitar? Did you like the sound of it, or did you not? Let me know down below. Also, if you're not subscribed to Squealing Pig Guitars, make sure to hit that subscribe button. YouTube tells us that 75% of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, so make sure to join the Squealing Pig Guitars crew by hitting that button. So today's episode's been a shreddy one. I loved the sound of the Mesa Boogie amplifier. That really elevated this metal guitar in my opinion. For me, this ESP is one of the better ESPs I've played. It had such a nice intonation, everything was perfect, as good as the Japanese ones. In terms of saying whether it was better than the Japanese ones, obviously these are slightly more expensive at retail because they're made in America. They played very similar in my opinion. The only thing I noticed is that this one was set up a little bit better, but that could have been from the previous owner. The quill is extremely high grade, the Seymour Duncan pickups sound incredible, and it was a hardtail, so I really enjoyed the playability. Nothing to criticize there. Visually speaking, I'm not the biggest fan of this guitar. I do think the Japanese ones are more experimental with their finishes, and I love the lava and the different drip finishes that they do. I'd love to see that on the American-made ones. I don't think you're necessarily getting anything out of the ordinary with the American one in comparison to the Japanese one, but it is still an incredible instrument. So let's get down to business. Let's total up the results. So for aesthetics, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Then for tone and playability, I gave it a 9 out of 10. As I mentioned in the video, this was one of the best metal tones I've ever got with an ESP guitar. And then finally, value and resale value. So if you're buying one brand new, it's going to be a little bit of a loss. But if you're buying one second hand, I think they're very good value indeed. So in total, the ESP M2 USA Custom Shop gets a 8 out of 10. That review will be going onto our squeal board. That's our leaderboard on our website. So if you'd like to check out the squeal board, hit the link down below. But as always, guys, thank you so much for checking out this Squealing Pig Guitars video. I really appreciate you guys watching every single day, and I love the community we're building down in the comment section below. But thank you so much for watching. My name's Ben Keightley, and I'll see you tomorrow for another one. But until then, keep rocking, guys. I'll see you soon.